Hello friends, you're with the Lonesome Gamer and I'm playing 1844. Now that might be the last video of the series. In this OR, which is the second OR, we'll pretty sure go into the 8 trains, and I assume that we're going to see one additional cycle of ORs, but I might not do that all on camera. Maybe I just kind of multiply the results and pay out a couple of times if there is nothing more going on the map, but I'm not sure about that. There might be some changes, the gray tiles will come into play, and I could see that still something might happen on the map, so maybe a simple payout is not possible here. When we take a look at the cash, this guy here, he is clearly ahead. He's sitting at about 1,500 bucks. He probably will have to pay about 200 or so to get an 8 train into the company, but still he is in a pretty good position. The Cha is the most valuable company at the moment, so he has solid shares. However, the RHB isn't doing that great. It's underneath here. These are his other shares basically, or lots of his shares. And the problem of the Cha is in 2 ORs it's not gonna go any further because it's a regional and the maximum of them is 200. So yeah, that kind of sucks for him. Maybe you should have sold 1 or 2 and try to get something different here, but I mean, he might consider grabbing a share of the F&M, but I think that overall the revenue of the Cha, the 20% revenue of a single share, is still better than a 10% share of the F&M, which is just operating down here, just started there. The others are pretty much in the same shape. I mean, he is ahead. The others are all about 1,000. They own about 1,000 bucks. This guy here, well, he's gonna have to pay also about 200 or something to get a train. He doesn't. That's an advantage, but he's gonna have to swallow here, but still. So yeah, at least he doesn't have to pay for the train here. This guy, and he also has to pay for the train, and actually quite a bit, about 300 or so. This guy is in a really bad shape. He is sitting on just 400 bucks, pretty much a disaster here. His shares are also not terribly good, and the only advantage he has these 3 mountain companies, and they are worth quite a bit. I mean, they are worth about 1,000 bucks if we all add them together. No, that's not true. About 500 bucks, 450 exactly. 450. But this one has to be activated before it will actually be worth anything. And he still has to shuffle trains around, so he's also has to pay some out of his pocket. So I think here is pretty much, this guy is completely lost, I guess. The question is, will his companies, or will his, well, advantage that he has in cash, will that be good enough to win the game, considering that his companies are not that great? And I'm pretty sure that will not be the case. I guess, well, my bets go on him. I mean, he will have 2 really, really good companies. The SBB, okay, he only holds 35% of them, but that's going to make a ton of money. And the AB also will have eventually 2 trains. It's going to be interesting because the STB also will end up with 2 trains. It's going to be the only company apart from the SBB and the AB which will end up with 2 trains. Maybe that gives him some boost toward the end, that he comes, I don't know, maybe not, maybe he doesn't come in last. We'll see about that. Okay, and another thing is we might see some additional tokens come into play now, that people can see how much money they actually now need for their trains if they have to swallow once more. It's possible that there's some money left, so maybe we'll see some tokening just to screw some of the other players. And the AB will actually lay such a token. It's not purely dicky. They also, I mean, actually it's not that much dicky. They just want to make sure that they control this big route from Lyon to Munich. That will be the case as soon as it is completely developed. That gives them a massive run, of course. I think it's probably the best run of the game. And yeah, maybe if they could make it to Innsbruck, it would be even better. And that is still possible if this thing would upgrade to gray, but I wouldn't count on that. So it's a really good run that they have here. And they just want to make sure if they block this here, then nobody of the other companies can slip in and dot these out. And we have a deal with the MOB, with the player of the MOB and the player of the VZ, that they're gonna leave this here. So of course it is possible that this also upgrades to gray, and then maybe some other company can go in there. But for now, it might be a useful dot. And then I guess I'll probably swallow the 5H train runs. Maybe yeah, I think I will. So sadly I can still not buy an 8 train because it's simply not yet available. The 6 train is the next one. I don't want that. But next turn I will get a 5H train then. So we're going to run from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is excellent. So it's 30, 70, 170, 210. That's a pretty good run with a 5H train. And we're going to swallow. And that is now enough. Not much left, but it is enough. We need 960. We have about 980 or so. So it's good enough for an 8E. Okay, so now that this is closed, the JN has upgraded this, so maybe the STS, STB, the blue one here, somehow can try to slip through here and then make a connection here. Remember, right now there are no brown cities left, which makes it a bit hard. And the blue one, the STB, they somehow need a connection, an east-west run or something. I mean, they might also, yeah, they need an east-west run. The other one is blocked here, the north-south run. And this one is far too expensive here. That doesn't work. So it's not easy to find a solution here. They laid this, but this is already, no, this is still available, that triangle. Maybe this will go here, we'll see. And then the JN has no train. And they only sit on 400, well, close to 500. They're going to need a 6H. which is 550. So that's not too painful. We can buy that out of pocket. And in this game, you do not have to buy the cheapest train available if you do an emergency financing. So you can choose if you want to buy the H train or if you want to buy an E train. Otherwise, players would be in a very bad position now. I just want to show you the bank. It's pretty close to breaking. We have, well, now okay, it's a little more than $1,000 in there, but now the new trains are purchased, and now quite a bit of money will go into the bank. Okay, so we got a 6 train now inside of that company, but of course we couldn't pay out, so the value drops again, and now it's these guys here, the BLS, and that's kind of interesting. They have now one more run here. Do they want that or not? Good question. Maybe they, yeah, they probably do. They can swallow, and this way I think it's probably an advantage to have that additional run. I mean, otherwise, if these trains would be already gone, he could have immediately bought that 8 train and then had one more run with the 8 train. In this way, he can swallow and then buy the train next turn, and he doesn't have to buy it out of pocket. So, yeah. And for him now, it's also a bit of a problem. He was hoping for a south-north run here, kind of like that, and then that, but then came this shitty dot here. So what can we do now? Well, let's count a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that kind of sucks. If we want to go here, we could do a run with a 6 here, but that's not. Well, we can. I mean, for now we can make at least this run here, which isn't terribly bad, to Paris, but you don't get the bonus, which would be helpful. So, I mean, I can go this way, then that way, try to build my way here. Maybe that is not such a bad idea. I can take the double O here and then make it out here to Stuttgart. Yeah, that might be worth it. That's probably not bad. I guess I'm gonna go for that. That tile placement is seriously bad news for the SBS, because there is no more gentle curve now available. That obviously sucks, but they can do a straight here and then upgrade this thing. But it's interesting. There are some, especially the gentle curves, and they, especially with the dot, they're really scarce in this game here. But okay, there are a lot of them on the board of the gentle curves. But that's kind of standard, right? I mean, this is pretty much the tile you need most in most games. So, wow, it's raining like crazy outside. Okay, we can run the 2-4 trains. Now, let's see what we can do here. Even swallowing, I make 270. Even swallowing does not give me quite the money I need to buy an 8 train, so I also have to pay something out of pocket. But yeah, I think it's still a reasonable option to swallow here. I'm only sitting on 50%, and I guess it's okay. The jumps are not that high. They will be about $15 eventually, so I guess saving $300 is worth it. And now comes the SBB, and now we're gonna see the 8 train falling. The SBB still has a lot of cash, and they got enough to lay a token to hurt the others, and then they can still build track if it's terrain. Yeah, it's no problem. They got about $100 left. They might even lay their last token. So I think what I'm gonna do is yeah, I think it's worth it. I think I will actually place a token here. That is, yeah, we might see an upgrade here eventually, but still, I think it's a good idea to place a token there. That will hurt a couple of people quite a bit, and maybe not so much, but I think yeah, everything else is also pretty pointless, and therefore yeah, I want a token there. So, and I did the tile placement here, ready to upgrade this in the next turn, and that is something that nobody really can take away from me. They could do maybe another upgrade, but usually everybody else is kind of busy doing their own stuff. So I think upgrading this just to hurt me is very unlikely. Okay, so now the SBB can make a good run with 3 trains, and then they will buy the 8 E-train. Okay, so there we go. Finally, the 8 Express Rotabpfeil comes into play, and I probably already mentioned it. It's a skip train, so it has unlimited range, but you can only count up to 8 locations. And now the gray tiles become available. The 4 trains all go away, and the 5 trains all become 5 H trains. Okay, here we go. This guy is now trainless. The RHB also is trainless. The STB, all the 4 trains go away. There we are. Okay. And they paid out, 67. Pretty good run. And now it's actually here, the MOB. And they got some advantage now, because they are now the first. They are the first to get the chance to place a gray tile and also to place a token. That's really valuable for them. They have now the option, they cannot slip into Zurich anymore because this is closed. That's no good news for them. But they could, for example, lay a gray tile here and then immediately place a token there and secure that point for them. That also gives them the Lyon-München run, basically like this, and then going with a tunnel down here this way. But that's not such a great run. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be good enough. 5, 6, 7, 7, 8. Yeah, they have a tunnel. They're in a really good shape then, I think. Let's hope nobody closes this. That would be dicky. And of course it's possible. Yeah, I think this is something they're gonna I mean, wait a minute. They might also consider placing a gray tile here. And that might even be more valuable. Huh. No, it's not, because, oh, maybe, that's a tough one. I mean, the thing is, that gives them access to Zurich, but they don't really need that. They could go then this way here, but there they would be cut off. So, because they cannot get, yeah, they cannot make that turn here to Munich. So I think actually they gotta go here. Yeah. Yeah, why not? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a big difference. Actually, this route is probably even better because here they take the train, which they otherwise wouldn't. So let's do this. We're going to upgrade this to gray. And there are only 2 gray. Yeah, there are only 2 gray non-special tiles available. And now I forgot, I think it was like this. I'll place it like that. I'm not sure if it was like, if that was open or this, but I think that was closed here. And there we go, and then we got to spend the $100. It kind of sucks, of course, because, well, that means I pay these $100 out of pocket. But it's worth it. We need that token. It is so important. So there we go. Okay. And yeah, as long as nobody closes this space here, we have now a safe east-west run, and it's a really, really good one. And now we got to buy that 8 train out of pocket. And that means we got to spend about $250 from our own money, which is okay for the best permanent train available. And now, wow, the turn order really matters. The RHB gets now the option to slip into Zurich, and so that is the 4 space tile. So let's see if we can do that here. It has to be placed like this because there's a lake there. And we also want to place a dot there, I guess. Okay, so this goes away and this was placed like this. There we go. And yeah, we got to place a dot there. The thing is now, all these companies who have to do an emergency financing, they will not be able to do anything afterward because they're completely out of money. And you don't want to swallow the cash of an 8 train to finance a dot or something. So these are pretty much the last expenses these companies will do. But I think that dot is worth it. Now, right now, it doesn't help them that much. The thing is, they have right now, they have an, well, they don't have a lot. They don't even have a north-south run. They can start here in Milano, make their way here, but that is all pretty bad. Actually, even that would be better if they started here. Bernina, the mountain railroad, and then simply go up here or to Zurich or something. But their goal, they're hoping somebody places a tile here, hoping that someone can still afford that. And that's probably going to be these guys, because they also need to get around this blockade here. And then they're going to get a chance to somehow do an east-west run. Maybe even the big one from Lyon to Innsbruck. I can see that happen because now Zurich is open, for them at least. So now this guy also has to buy a train out of pocket. He's got to throw in about $300. Okay, that hurts a little bit, but it's also not that bad. We have a token, which is important. We have a lot of cash here, so I think that's okay. EZ is in a really bad shape. They got a 6H train, but they are pretty isolated here, and they didn't manage to place a dot somewhere else where it would be, where there is the more valuable stuff. I mean, there was that great mountain railroad here, but now it only pays out 10. It was a fine railroad, but now it really sucks. And yeah, they cannot go off board. So what is their plan? They could go to Genève. I wonder what's better. I don't know. I mean, this is 100 here. They upgraded Lausanne. So that's 100. So I think if they start here, they can make exactly 150. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? They can actually go to this mountain railroad here. Take the $10. If they start here, they can make 160. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, okay, it's 160. That's really not good. I mean, these guys with a 5 train, they run for 230 or so. And they with a 6 train only go for 160. So that's really not that great. They could have also upgraded this, but they're not too eager to do that. They want to avoid that other players might be able to token Lausanne, for example, and that they get some trouble there. So for now, they only upgraded this. The STB is also in that position where they basically they only have money left for a single action. And that's pretty bad. Actually, I might have calculated it in a way. I wanted to buy the 6 train over. Oh boy, maybe I cannot even build something. That would be very, very bad for me, because that would mean I would not get the option to build, for example, this. Oh boy, maybe I cannot go for an east-west run. There's a lot of problems for the STB here. They don't have a west connection yet. I mean, okay, eventually I might be able to upgrade this, but only if nobody else grabs it. So that's quite a risk here. And yeah, then, you know, I cannot go through here. And it all costs. This costs money. Could try to upgrade Bern, but then this also costs money. So I don't know how to engineer this. So here's my problem. I can buy that 8 train, but I don't, and then I got exactly $1 left to buy the 6 train over. And that's basically what I want to do. But I cannot afford to build a route anymore. That sucks. Does anybody still have money? And the answer is no. Except for this guy. He is actually the only one who can still do some expenditures. And of course but he is not really interested in doing so, because, you know, I mean, he's in a good position. He's got his 2 runs. Why should he do anything? But everybody else is in a position where they just can't do anything. I might consider maybe with the JN, maybe I should swallow just to get some more money into the company so I can continue building some routes here. But, okay, so the STB, what is their goal? Well, I think what I want to do is I definitely want to make this connection here before someone else steals that tile from me. So at least now, and this is the only triangle in the game, at least now we've got that that connection here to Munich. And now I'm gonna buy the train. I exactly saved 960, and then I'm gonna buy the 6 train here. Now the thing is, I think I'm not even sure if I want the 6 train or if I'm going to take the 5H. I think I can. The 6 train is, the 6 train is obviously better. I hold 60% of the STB. If I take the 5H, that means I'm losing Milan. I'm losing 90 bucks from here. But let's be honest, I only hold 30% of this thing. So that means it only gives me 30 bucks instead of 90 bucks. And therefore, it looks very powerful, but not if you own only 30%. Here though, you know, if I can hit an additional city, if I can make an additional 60 bucks, and I think I can easily do that compared to the 5 train, I already kind of earned these 30 bucks. So, yeah. So basically a 60 buck location here is worth the same as Milan because I own more shares. So I guess the 6 train, I want to have that here. Okay, so that means this company is out of money. These guys still have money, but there's not a lot they can, they cannot help me or so. They can build their shitty routes here, you know, the river here, but pretty ridiculous. Okay, so the STB obviously didn't run, and we'll see if we get some east-west connection there. And the last company is now the F&M. Did spend 20 bucks here to build in Bellinzona, and that gives them now a fantastic run for 100 bucks. And of course they pay out. The good thing is this activates my mountain railroad. That gives me now 120. Actually, I make more of the mountain railroad than I make from the company itself. Okay, there we go. And the value rises. Okay, so that was that operating round. And we go into the last one of the cycle. Now, there is now a lot more money in the bank, and there are even 2 more companies, yeah, that will buy 8 trains. So we will definitely see 1 more cycle of ORs. But that's it then. So the 8 trains will run not that much actually. For these guys, for this guy for example, the 8 train will only run 3 times. Same here. For the others, it's a little more lucrative. So it's a bit questionable. Was it worth all the swallowing, you know, all the shuffling? I don't know. We will see in the end of the game, but I'm not so sure about that. He could have paid out a couple of more times. I think I swallowed twice here. I think I swallowed twice here. We'll see. So the Tsar could now lay the gray tile down here. The question is, do they want to do that? Now, I'm not so convinced about that. Maybe they say, hey, maybe there's a better way. But the problem is, it would be great if we could somehow work together, and for example, if we can make a brown upgrade here, and then someone else does a gray upgrade here. The thing is though that this guy, the AB, is next. So they could use the brown tile, and there's only 1 now. They could use that somewhere else. On the other hand, they probably want to make a connection here. Then it would be the JN. And yeah, I can see that happen. I can see that happen. I can see that people might say, hey, why not let's work together here somehow, and let's try to open this tile. Then everybody's kind of happy. I think we can possibly see something like that happen. Because this is such a vital point in the game here. But I wouldn't be too sure about that. Maybe somebody else messes around with that. Still, I think I'm not going to place the gray tile here, because then it's really gone. And if I can get, with the RHB, some kind of really great east-west run, that's definitely more worth than getting 10 additional bucks here. So the char will actually do simply nothing. And the AB, they actually use that brown tile here. That was pretty much the only option to upgrade a green existing tile now to gray. So this one, it will stay green. There was no reason for the AB to build that massive run, because they don't have the 8 train yet, and the SBB will be next anyway, and then they can simply do the upgrade. But now there is another nice 40 city on their route, which will help them, and it will hurt the others quite a bit. They got to come up with, somehow try to figure something out, but I'm not sure if it's even possible. It's going to be very, very hard for them to find a solution to make that run without terrain. That's the problem, right? I mean, they could say, okay, we try to build something if somebody swallows, but who's going to be that person? So I only have a 5H train. I mean, I could have built here, but I can't afford that. That's a bit of a shame. Of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this is the best. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. So we're going to run 80, 90. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty solid. 90, 150. 200, 280 with a 5H train. That's fantastic. No, actually, no, I don't make this. Let's see. No, it's actually 230. I don't make that. I'm going to go here. So it's 230, but that's still solid. And yeah, I'm going to pay that out. So now I can buy also an 8 Express train, but they're no more available. I mean, there's an unlimited number of them available, but the problem is they thought it makes sense just to give you 4 of them. I mean, they should have really said, okay, we give for every major company and maybe the state roller, we give 1. So, you know, 3 more cards. I think they should have done that. Instead, you got to come up with something. I mean, we can take the trains from 1854, I guess. Okay, there we go. We can take this one, but it's a little odd. Okay, so we got now 2 trains in there too, which is pretty good. And we are in a, when it comes to map control, and also when it comes to the trains, this guy is in a very strong position. He also seems to have maybe, does he already have the most money? Not quite, but he is very good. Okay, and now it is the SBB. They're gonna now make that connection, and that is now going to be, are we in the second? I think we're in the third OR now. This is now going to be, well, pretty much the perfect run. They can go from here all the way here, this way, here, through here, Zurich, and then they can go out here. I mean, there are, in theory, there could be better options. As I already said, they could go to Innsbruck. They can make a little more money, right? They could take the double O here and all, but they don't have that cash. I mean, they have the cash, but they don't want to help the others. So, yeah, I'm interested in what they're making now. The thing is, they really have to make a lot to make these 5% shares valuable, right? They pretty much have to make double the amount of the other companies. And that might not be so easy. So let's see what they can what they can reach. I think they definitely have to reach 800 or maybe even more. Okay, so the SBB made 950 bucks. Now that is really impressive. And I have a feeling I could have made more. I made a stupid mistake. I should not have placed this. I have no idea why I actually did that. I mean, I thought, hey, great, I can hinder the others from upgrading from green to gray, but I simply could have taken the gray tile instead and placed it here, for example, which would have been much better for me. I have no idea why I didn't do that. Was just my thoughts were just too complicated here, and yeah. So anyway, the thing is now, I basically ran all the way here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was a massive run. That was more than 500. And then that train here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the AT Mountain Railroad here. I think that ran for 170. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all that way here. That was another 270 or something. Overall, 950. Amazing. Yeah, we'll see what the others with the 8 train do. I'm not so sure about that yet. But especially as long as that really strong route stays blocked, I see now that this might be a really strong company. And of course also the AB. So it looks pretty good for this guy. So the last gray tile was placed by the VZ at Montreux. That helps them and nobody else really gets a big advantage out of it. The yellow player is already connected with this area anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's kind of funny that there is so much room here, right? But it's so close up there and also over here. So the VZ, again, it's ridiculous. I don't know, 170 or something. They go for 90, 110, 180, I think. Now it seems that this upgrade by the player who controls the mob might have been a miscalculation. He thought, okay, there's no risk I can get into trouble because of that. That was actually the reason why that was closed. But now he saw, okay, no company can lay any more tile. This one could, though, or any more token. This one could, though. And the thing is, they have to, this player, if he would lay a token, he would have to place, he would have to pay that token out of pocket. The reason why he underestimated a threat here is because that player is doing a north-south route. So he thought, he's not interested in doing this. Why would he pay a token out of pocket if, you know, if he doesn't need it? The danger is that he will place a token here at Genève. And I thought about that. The reason why he might be interested is that pretty much every company can take that run through Lyon. The SBB will, I mean, they will do it anyway. They have that token in here. The AB already used it. The RHB if there will be a connection, and I'm pretty sure there will be eventually, the RHB also can use it. The FNM, of course not, they are still totally isolated. The STB also wants to use it. So yeah, pretty much every company uses it, except for him and the FNM. So he will hurt basically every player if he does it. Now the question is, does he hurt the players more than it hurts himself when he pays the $100? Because yeah, he doesn't go here. That's the crazy part. He doesn't go here. But if you think about it, for example, this guy here, I mean, basically the difference is simple. Players who cannot go to Lyon will probably go instead to Paris. Or the player, for example, who holds the MOP, he cannot go to Paris, so he will go then instead here. This is also an east-west location. So difference would be in both situations here, the companies make $120 if they go here. Down here they make $180. In addition to that, for example, the AB player, if he wants to make an east-west run, if he cannot go down here, he will also lose Lyon as an option, which is, let's say, another $10 more, or maybe even 20 compared to a standard city of 40 that he would otherwise take. Maybe he can only take a 30 city even. So that means that instead of 110 or 120, 180, let's see. So if we would take 180, let's say the player would make $200 here, and here he would only make, yeah, 120. So the difference is about $80 per run. That is quite a bit. And so let's see. For example, this guy has 6 shares. So 6 times 8 is $48. Now, granted, I also have a share of that company. I have a share in most companies. So let's say it's just $40. That is the actual difference. Well, I mean, okay. So this company will run 3 more times with the 8 train. And a couple of companies will even run 4 more times. But just let's take this. So they will lose about $120, 3 times 4. And if I buy a dot, I only lose $100. So overall, it's an advantage. It's a simple calculation, right? It's simple math. I will lose a little bit less than the other people will. And that actually applies to everybody. So I don't have to check who is exactly in the lead and so on, because everybody except me will use that, wants to use this thing here. So I think I'm gonna do it. The only reason I might not, I'm not super dicky. This is kind of my personality thing. So maybe some people say, I don't care or whatever. So on a 6, I'm not gonna do it. Otherwise, I'm gonna lay a token there. Okay, definitely, yeah. It makes total sense. It's a little, you know, it sucks a little bit if you play solitaire and you want to see the big routes, because it's simply fun to do. But then again, you kind of want to play like it's a real game, and then that might happen. So this guy places his token there just to screw the others. That's a shame. We will see still the big route, by the way. The SB Bill will do it. But they are now the only company who will go for that. And in addition to this, he's going to lay a tile. He's going to pay $20. And he's going to lay here tile across the river. And now it's interesting because now actually this here was not late, as many people thought. And they were hoping for this connection, for this east-west connection. But players can still open up this. The mob, for example, but they might not be interested. It's very interesting because now, that's crazy. He laid this tile and there is now really a chance that maybe players may upgrade this now in a way that the east-west run does not become possible. We'll see about that. It is, you know what? Actually, that is very dangerous. I might want to place a tile here instead, because that makes it safe that I have a connection. Yeah, maybe that's something I prefer, just to be sure that I get, yeah, that otherwise this could hurt me too much. The reason why I wanted to do it like this is that I wanted to make this route here and then take this city and then go back like this and go through here. And I cannot do this way if I go through here, but I gotta go like this and then like this. But this is also okay because I can take the double doinker there, or the double O. So, you know, actually I think, just want to make sure, I'm gonna place that tile here instead. And now I got my north-south run, and nobody can screw me here by upgrading to something bad. Nobody can now lay a token except they swallow. So this here is also now pretty safe. Nobody can block me here. It's very unlikely that it will happen. Now that is exceptionally bad news for some of the other players that were counting on this connection. Because that's interesting, because in a way that kind of even modifies the value of this token, because nobody else might be able to run there except the AB. They are the only ones that we are really hurting. And the MOB. Yeah. That's an interesting... Now it becomes a question, because the STB cannot go there anymore. The RHB probably also not. As long as they don't swallow. Still, I think this player here is possibly the biggest danger. A little bit here, but the others are also are all now pretty badly hurt. So it is this player, and if I can hurt him by closing Lyon, I think that will be worth the $100. Okay, and then I'm gonna have to buy a train. And so let's see, I'm gonna spend 960 here. There we go. Okay, so now we're at the point where the players who have their 8 run are basically no longer interested in doing anything. There are a couple of these players. The mob has an 8 run, and the BLS, the AB, the SBB. The others, I don't know if they still have the option to engineer something. Their only way would basically to swallow and then try to build across the terrain. But do they really want to do that? I got to think about that a little bit. Some might swallow with a small company, for example. But you know, basically that means that it might be worth it. The small companies operate before the bigger companies, so they could lay track for them, and that will then enable the bigger companies to still run 3 times their major run. So that could be worth it. We'll see. The MOB now starts here at Belfort. They go down there, so that is basically 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Then they go here, 4, down here through the tunnel, and then like this, 5, 6, 7, and then they can, let's say they take this one too for 20. Now that is especially good because it's a tunnel there, so that adds 10 to every location, so they basically get an additional 80 for using the tunnel here. So that is very good. It's a shame they couldn't go to Lyon. That would have given them still much more cash or much more money, but yeah, that is closed. So they got to take Belfort, Munich instead. But it is still obviously a good run. Okay, so the mob, they ran for 560, which is really strong. I think it is pretty good, and it is... Yeah, we'll see how good the SBB will be doing, but if they're, you know, they don't make half, if it's not half the value, so they basically have to do 1100 or something to make their shares about equal in value as shares of the mob. And if this is what we can expect from a standard company, then the SBB is not performing that great. But we'll see. I mean, it's not the only reason. You don't necessarily only go for the revenue when you aim for control of the SBB. It gives you other advantages too, but you always have to consider you only hold 5% shares. So yeah, if you want the same revenue, you have to make double the cash than your standard major company does. So it's the RHB, and they had now this decision to make, and yeah, I figured out it's actually easier than I thought. So they have a really good run now. They start here in Innsbruck, go through here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, Zurich, 5, 6, they can upgrade Basel, 7, and then they can finish here in that mountain railroad, 8. They pass the tunnel here, which gives them a plus 10, so basically plus 80. So overall, they end up with 520. That is just $40 less than if they would have made an East-West run. Now I thought about that. That's not true. That's $40 less than what the mob did, who did an East-West run. So I find that remarkable. I thought the East-West runs are so much more powerful, but this is a really good run, and we got this mountain railroad here, we got Innsbruck as a very strong offboard, we got Zurich, we got this gray tile, and we get Basel. So these are really good locations, and the tunnel, in addition to that, makes for a very strong run. Now I calculated, and that's the thing, right? These are all things that you cannot really do if you play a post. This is really, for me, this game is probably I'm not sure if it really is more enjoyable if I play solitaire, but I can play the game in a totally different way if I play solo compared to if I would play this game really face to face, because there are so many things to calculate here that you can simply not do if you would play with other players. So I calculated a run, a possible east-west run here, and I thought what I could swallow now, and then kind of build, for example, through here or something, so that I can make some kind of east-west run. And the difference is only about $100. So therefore, swallowing the 500 now and losing share value is pretty stupid when it allows me to simply gain. We will have only 3 more ORs, so if I then make an additional revenue during these 3 ORs of $300, makes no sense to swallow the 500 now. So therefore, I'm just gonna pay out and don't care about any east-west run. It is still a good run. Lucky for me that I made it here to Zurich, and now we're upgrading Basel here to gray, which is now also a 3-space location. And yeah, then we don't have to bother about east-west runs anymore. We're simply going to run our 2 companies to the end of the game now. So it turned out the STB has totally miscalculated here. They planned absolutely wrong. They are in a terrible position. They can basically only operate in this area. They are cut off here. They're cut off here. The tunnel does end here. They're cut off here. They can even not go through this space here. So they are very restricted, but they have 2 trains, an 8E and a 6 train, and that is just a total disaster for them. So they probably will actually swallow, because, you know, it's so frustrating. There's nothing they can do. The 6 train is pretty good, but it's very hard for me to even find reasonable routes. The 6 train goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is okay, but I'm not even sure that makes sense. Maybe it's better to run the 8 train here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, I think I'm going to run the 8 train like this. But what do I do with the 6 train then? Well, maybe I'm going to go, oh boy, if I start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's it, right? Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I cannot go there anymore. Totally screwed here. Well, I could go at least here. Yeah, that's true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's all I can do right now. I'm going to also calculate that. And then try to figure out if it's more reasonable to... And I might also run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get the 80 here. I don't think this is as good as that, though. I'm pretty sure this is better. 70 and 60 here. That's just... I'm not sure. I'm going to try to calculate that out. And then maybe see what an optional... or what a possible east-west run can do. But the problem is that such an east-west run is not so easy to engineer for me. I need probably 2 tile lays. However, I assume that there might be other companies that would help me if they do not have to swallow, because they could also improve their runs. So yeah, there is still this chance to cut through here, through the mountains, and then make an upgrade here, and then I can go here. And I'm not even sure if that would improve my situation that much. The other choice would be to go down here, for example, and then hope for some way through here somehow. Yeah, because I don't know. I gotta calculate through that, and we'll see. Well, again, I calculated that. So the thing is, I make 58 now with the STB. I think I went kind of like, wait a minute. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure anymore. No, yeah, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the other guy goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how I ran. However, if I make an upgrade here, look at that. I see that now. Yeah, if I make an upgrade here, I can actually improve that. If I make an upgrade here, I can take Zurich twice, and I can, instead of making this upgrade. So that will give me, I don't know, an additional 50 or so. Okay, great. So if I would now, let's say now I'm a little bit over 60, if I would upgrade, if I would swallow, the idea is, okay, I had 2 options. I could swallow with the STB and then try to somehow get into this western part here to make money. The 2 options would be, that would be the most lucrative option, going through here and then getting in here, right? Because then I can take these 2 cities here. But if I do that, the AB, so the idea was to do this with the STB next turn, and then the turn afterward cut in here with the JN. So the STB would operate here, and then the JN would operate in the next operating round here. But in the end, that would only give me 2 runs. And there is always with the 8E train, because I swallow now, I can lay the tile in the first OR of the next turn, and in the second OR I can kind of finish this and run then with the 8 train. So I get 2 of these bigger runs. But there's always a threat that the AB will cut me out here by laying this tile here, because they operate between the STB and the JN. So no matter what I do, if I place here with the STB and then try to open up here or something, the AB could always kind of screw me. So therefore, what I have to do is, and what is even more reasonable, because I lose less money there, if the JN swallows, I can lay track, and then the STB can lay track afterward, and the AB will not screw me. And it's kind of unlikely that the other peoples will, because they're also interested in getting a good east-west run. However, also here, I mean, there is a bit of a difference, about $150 or so, that I can make more. But, you know, I calculated, it's just not worth it. Even if I swallow with these guys, I own 60% of them, but I own only 50% of the SDB. So I kind of lose about $150 if I swallow here. And I can maybe run the STB for 300 additional bucks, but I only own 50%. So that means at best I'll end up even. So therefore it's not worth it. I'm just gonna run in this way, and that's it. It just doesn't help me at all. So I don't think we're gonna see any bigger building actions now. Maybe a couple of this, there will be an upgrade here, I guess, and I don't know if there's anything else going on. Unlikely. Okay, so we're now in the last stock round, and nothing happens. Everybody's at his share limit or certificate limit. The only certificates available are the F&Ms, and they are by far the worst. So there is no reason for anybody to trade anything here, and therefore we simply go immediately into the last set of ORs. There are 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there are about 5,000 bucks. Probably pretty much exactly 4,000 bucks. Damn, it's easy. Yeah, there are about 4,000 bucks here. And I guess most of the companies, most of the majors, except for the F&M, are generating about 500. Probably more, between 500 and 600, I would say. Of course, we have the SBB, which is doing much more. So I guess we can say overall, the majors alone make about, let's say, we got 6 times, about 3,000 per operating round. In addition, we have the miners. So that might hold for 1 more operating round, maybe, but also maybe not. It's not that clear. But it definitely doesn't hold for 3 operating rounds. So we simply can now throw in additional cash here, because the bank will break absolutely during the following set of ORs. Okay, and also pretty much the routes are all fixed at that point. The SBB, they still have cash, but they are probably not really willing to help somebody. They don't have the money to lay a dot, so they also cannot really mess around too much. I don't know if that helps. For example, they might consider maybe breaking through here and making a connection here, so they could take the double O here. That would help the AB too. So we might even say that see that happening. I wouldn't rule that out. Yeah, that's clearly an option. That could help the AB and the SBB. So maybe that's something we see happening. But apart from that, we're gonna see an upgrade here, I guess. Yeah, but this is pretty much it. And of course the F&M will develop a little more down here. They're gonna place a tile here and then upgrade one of these 2 cities, or maybe both of them. So eventually everything here will be probably green, but yeah, that doesn't make it a much better company. Okay, so just to keep you updated a little bit. So I operated now the Cha, and there's nothing gonna change during the game. They are just totally limited here. But it's a good company. They run for 250 from here, Bernina, all this way here through the tunnel up to this place here. And I'm not gonna, well, actually, let's see. Ruhr. Okay. And so from Bernina to Ruhr, and that gives them 25. They're gonna pay that out 3 times. The guy is sitting on 100%, so he's making 750 bucks out of this company. That's pretty good, actually. I mean, it really is not bad at all. He didn't do too much investment into this thing. I think once he had to pay 200 or so for the train, but that's it. Apart from that, he just made money out of it. Problem is, they are already at 200, so they're not going to rise in value anymore, and that is obviously a shame. Okay, but this is it. The char is done now for the rest of the game. So the final run of the SBB is 950. I find that maybe a little bit disappointing. I hope I could go for over 1,000. 3 trains, 2 5H and 8 Express, but it wasn't good enough. So in the end, I made that massive east-west run here from Lyon all the way up here, taking a couple of these cities here, go through Zurich, and then down here to Munich. Okay. And then I had these 2 5Es, and they, well, one of them went like this from this mountain railroad here to Zurich. That was very strong for 230. The other one had to go like this, and that was just about 170. I mean, that's not terrible, but it's clearly not that great. If I could have made this second railroad better, I think I could have achieved 1,000 with that train combination, but yeah, didn't work out somehow. I couldn't find any solution here, and I think there is none. I also helped the AB here. Now this is open, that allows us to take the double O here, which is pretty good. And yeah, I laid this tile here, so we got now here the option to go twice, once like this and once like that. So that's the run of the SBB, and I think it's the most valuable company at 210. At the end of the game, the AB is sitting at 200. So JN has a 6H train, and their final run is 220. From here, the double O, all the way here through Basel into the mountain railroad here. That's okay, but it's not as good as, for example, the Char with the 5 train, which is remarkable. But they managed to exactly land here on the spot with 200, so they managed to get to gain share value to the end of the game, while the Char was sitting there for a couple of turns. So the player was quite happy about that. The VZ is really not doing good. 170, they run here from the Genève to Montreux. Along the lake, might be the most beautiful line, but it's definitely not a very profitable one. Now, okay, it's still better than the F&M, and it's a double share. So, yeah, but I don't know, kind of sucks. So it goes up 1, 2, 3 spaces here, sitting at 180. Kind of interesting, the big run here from Lyon to Munich, all the way up here through Zurich and Lausanne, you know, and even the double O, I think, is the same as the run from Belfort to Munich, which starts here, although you don't have Lyon with its richness, and you don't have Zurich, but there is this city here, the Grey City, and this one here, Rouen, Montreux, and especially there's the tunnel, which gives you this one here, right? And that gives an additional 80 bucks. So, although you have to take brick here, which is just 20. So the mob, yeah, they run here from Belfort down here. They took these big cities here, but then they had to go through here, brick, because otherwise they could not have done 8. All the way there's here, here, and then the green one here and here. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. The tunnel is very powerful, gives you a big bonus here. So they ran for 56 overall. They only have a single train, and yeah. So the RHB starts here in Innsbruck, and they go first down here, then through the tunnel, this way here, up there, through the double O, Zurich, then all the way here, or also like that, doesn't matter, through Basel, and then to the Mountain Railroad. Now, that's a pretty good run, actually. It gives them 54. So that's just 20 bucks less than a good east-west run. So yeah, I'm just happy with that. The tunnel is great. They hit a lot of good locations: Basel, Zurich, the Mountain Railroad, Innsbruck. They can take a lot of brown tiles, the double O. That's just a very, very good run. So the BLS run their 8 train only during these 3 ORs. So they run it for the shortest time, but they make really great money with that 8 train. They have 59. So interestingly, they make a north-south run, and that specific north-south run is more valuable than each east-west run. But it's a special. So they start here in Milan, which is worth 90 plus 40, so that's already pretty good. And they go immediately here through the tunnel, 2 of them. Here, they have to take 2 green cities, this one. Then they turn here to the west, and they can take these big cities here. They go up again, take these green city, and then they can take Basel. And they go through here, all the way up here through the double O, and then into Stuttgart, which also gives them another 100. So, I mean, obviously, this is not your standard east-west run and north-south run, right? It's massive. And yeah, it gives them 59 bucks. The tunnel helps, of course, a lot. So, just great. And that now activated also his tunnel, so he's now sitting on 2 tunnel companies, 3 mountain and 1 mountain railroad. And by the way, this guy has 3 active mountain railroads, which give now also quite an income. So a good run for the BLS. Okay, so the STB, in the end, it wasn't as bad as I thought. They have their 2 trains, an 8 express and a 6 train. And they're running for, I mean, it's not great. They're running for 67. And configuring the train configuration, it's not good. compared to the other companies, I guess it's okay. The AB, which has a 5H and an 8, runs for 71. But the AB has an east-west run. So they will run, the 8 goes from here, from that mountain railroad, all the way through here, takes these two green cities here to Zurich, through the double O, and then here to Stuttgart. Okay, and the 6 goes from Munich, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right there. So the 6 goes for 220, I think. No, for 26. The 8 goes for 41, and that's not good. The 41 is pretty bad, but okay. Okay, and last is the F&M, and they had, their final run was this here with a 5H train. So that was 9, that was 15. Yeah, okay. And that's it. That's the end of the game. Of course, there's still a lot of calculations to do. If you see stacks like this, right? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to calculate here, and going to be back with the final result here. We can take a look at the stock market already now. As I already said, the SBB is at 210. Got a couple of companies sitting here at 200. The JN, the AB, and the CHA. The VZ is at 180. A lot of companies here at 140. STB, the BLS, the RHB, the MOB, and the F&M is at 110. Okay, so I calculated everything, and yeah, winner is this player here, the owner of the RHB, Rätische Bahn, and the Chur Arosa. And that is, well, I wouldn't say it's a surprise, because he was the guy who had the most money, the only person who came above 5,000. He is sitting on 5,400 bucks. But interestingly, his share value is the lowest share value of all the players. It's only 2,870. So his overall value is 8,326. Now, when we take a closer look, basically we got the SBB here at 210. That's the most valuable company. And then we got these 3 companies. 2 of them are minor, are regionals, for 200. So the CHA, the JN, and the only major company who actually made it up there is the AB. So this guy here, player 2, he made it up to the 200 value. So that's the most valuable major company. And then all the other major companies are at 140, except for the F&M, which is sitting at 110. So that is interesting, that basically all the major companies except the AB are at the same price level, at the same value. And then we have this one here, the VZ, the regional, at 180. So yeah, I mean, this guy, he holds 100% of the CHA and 10%, so 2 shares of the SBB. But overall, and a share of the JN. So these regional company shares, I think they were actually pretty valuable for him. They paid out good cash, and he paid very steady with both of his companies. He did not a lot of train shuffling. He swallowed, he paid out pretty much constantly. There was one situation when he bought off, when the first 5 train came up, he bought the train that was in here over to the RHB, and then he did an emergency financing here to get the 5H in here, because he saw that was the train he needed. The 5H train was the perfect train for the Cha. And then it was sitting here and it paid out for a long time. I don't know, maybe kind of like 8 or 9 operating rounds or something like that. It was really, really impressive. He just paid out, paid out, paid out. The only problem was that at some point it didn't go beyond the 200 mark. The RHB, that was interestingly the only company that did not have, or it wasn't the only one, but one of the few that did not have an east-west or a north-south run. But they had a very strong run from Innsbruck all the way here through here, and then in the end they ended up here at that valuable mountain railroad. In addition, he had the mountain railroad and the tunnel company. They were worth another $200. So player 2 has about $230 less or so, and that is, yeah, he's sitting on 8,089. That's the owner of the SBB and the AB. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe the payout of these 2 companies here, Mountain Railroad and the Tunnel Company, that might have been what actually won him the game, because at some point he was simply at a certificate limit, and then he made $50 more per operating round because of these 2 companies, and that's pretty much what he is ahead if we kind of calculate that for 4 or 5 operating rounds. So if he would not have these 2, I think there would have been a good chance that then this guy would have actually won the game. But okay, so I don't know, maybe he was a little too slow. He did a lot of train shuffling. He swallowed, I think, 2 times here, definitely 1 time here. So yeah, it was, maybe that was a little bit too complicated. But okay, I mean, he came in second. That's also not that bad. Third, and that is a little bit of a surprise for me, because I clearly thought that it would be this guy here with the MOB, that aggressive player with his 2 strong private companies that he bought then in. But actually it's not. Third player is this guy here, the owner of the STB, the JN, and the FNM. Now, okay, he has 3 of these mountain railroads. They produced a good income. He has obviously a lot of shares because he has 3 companies. Now, the share value isn't that great, I think. Well, it's not that bad, actually. Probably the JN is doing pretty good. He's holding 3 shares of the SBB. Yeah. But especially the STB, toward the end of the game, was a really strong company. But it took him simply too long to get all the trains in the right place. And he was the guy who had then to buy that poisoned 6 train to somehow crack into the 8 trains. He couldn't wait any longer, so that was all a little bit complicated here. You had to invest quite a bit of private cash into these two companies toward the end of the game. He ended up with 4 permanent trains, but yeah, it wasn't quite enough. So he's basically already about $500 behind the leader. And then second last is this guy here, owner of the MOB and the VZ. I think it is basically because the VZ is really not a good company. It's not that terrible. I mean, they still made $170. Why was he doing so poorly? I'm not absolutely sure about that. He had to pay a lot of money for that 6 train here. But on the other hand, he paid out a lot. He constantly paid out. But yeah, maybe he just had too many losses. He had to pay for the 6 train. He also had to add money for the 8 train, and maybe that was just too much. His shares, well, I mean, he holds 3 shares of the SBB, 2 shares of the AB, but in the end it wasn't enough. He has no shares at all, no mountain companies or something, so maybe that is also a point why he wasn't doing that great. Hard to tell. And last, it's this guy here, owner of the BLS, which is actually not a bad company, and he also has 5 shares of the SBB. So owned a mountain railroad, but in the end, yeah, he wasn't doing that good. I think a big reason is, and here's something that I missed, and a viewer pointed that out, and I also found out a couple of days ago. The F&M, I messed this up. So the F&M should have started at the start of the game. And the way this works, and I didn't see that, in the setup, during setup, you place 3 shares of the F&M in the bank pool. And I simply didn't see that. Because I didn't read the setup, you know, usually setup is pretty much the same in all the 18xx games, so I just ignored that, basically. And that was a big mistake. Because then, as soon as this share is auctioned at the start of the game, 50% of the company are automatically sold, and without having to buy any additional shares, the player automatically controls the F&M, and he can choose at what value. It's probably 200, so he controls $500 of starting capital. And he could actually have started, in addition to the F&M, he could have started some other pre-state railroad, because yeah, he didn't need to buy additional shares to make this F&M work. So that was definitely a big disadvantage for this player here, and I'm pretty sure if I would have played that correctly, this guy would have been now in a better position. But okay, just let me give you a few thoughts about this. Well, I got to play that definitely more. It's hard to judge a game after the second play, especially when the first one was about 2 years ago or so. But I can say that I really like it. I really enjoy the game quite a bit. What I find interesting is that the game changed its nature quite a bit during its course. At the start, you have mainly these pre-state railways, and they feel like miners, right? So you start kind of playing with your miners, a little bit like in, for example, 1835, where you just, yeah, you have the miners operating, and you start to get to your destination location, and in this way you got these, yeah, you got these 5 areas on the board where you have the first miners kind of building their track. And then a little later, the players start to get rid of their, and that's a pretty slow start, by the way. I think, although it might have been, I think I made it even slower by not starting the F&M, but still, I think this is not a game that goes very fast into the green phase. But I'm okay with that. I like that a lot when you start building up the map slowly. That gives it a little bit of an epic feel, I think. And then players, when it comes to green, players try to somehow get rid of their privates, to sell them into the companies. But that's a little tricky because you can try to sell them into the regionals, but then the regionals usually take a really big hit. Or you sell them into the majors, but that is also not that easy because the majors also only have 50% of their starting capital available. So if you have an expensive private, that might not be possible. This guy, for example, was in this position. He had to try to get a connection done first, because if he really would have sold his private in for full value, then the major would not have had the money left to pay for all the terrain to get to its destination. So that's an interesting problem. You don't get the full capital like in other games, and then you can easily buy your private in. Here you have basically only half of it, and you have to try to do it in a clever way to solve that problem somehow. And then during the next stage of the game, there is this, of course, when the first permanents come, it's again, some companies really want to have the cheap permanent trains. For some it's very interesting. For example, for this guy, the Shah, he wanted to have the 5H. The SBB was also okay with holding some cheap permanent. But then again, I think most of the major companies probably want to avoid a cheap permanent train and instead aim for the 8 train. And that is a very interesting problem again. So you're trying to somehow hold on to your trains and to your money until the 8 train comes out. You don't want to be the one to buy the last 6 train, for example, like this player. Or you at least want to try to orchestrate in a way that you still get an 8 train. So this is a very, very, that's a cool thing to do. And then also toward the end of the game, when the 8 train comes out, and also earlier, the companies really have to find good routes here on the board. And that's a fascinating aspect of this game. This is a fantastic route building game. Maybe it might be actually my favorite route building game. There are really clever things going on here. I mean, one is, for example, the mountain railroads, which, depending on where they sit, that might change the whole, nature of the board. a little bit, you know, where are the big money centers. That can change with these mountain railroads. And because these mountain railroads here, the 80s, they make more money than the best cities do. And then, of course, you still have your off-boards and the east-west runs. These are all very interesting challenges. Another aspect I like about the route building is there are not that many brown tiles. Usually, in these kind of games, especially when you have a lot of cities, you know, there is this thing when you go into green, everybody has to upgrade the tiles to green. And then you come into brown, and then everybody uses his actions, his tile actions, to upgrade to brown. And so on. And then maybe to gray, you have to do the same thing again. And it's, you know, it's just, in a way, it's pretty boring, and you just add more money to the track, of course. But here it's actually more interesting because you don't have that many brown tiles here. And the brown tiles are not only interesting because they add 10 to the city value. The brown tiles allow you to upgrade to gray. And that's important because gray gives you the 3 slots. And for some points, that is a big deal. It's really super important where these 3 slots, the 3 spaces, end up on the board. That can change the nature of the map quite a bit if you have a 3 space here, or down here, or whatever, you know, or maybe here. That changes the board significantly. Or if it's maybe down here. So I think that's super interesting. And at that point, of course, also the order of the companies is an important thing. And yeah, you know, there are only 2 of these gray tiles available. So the player who gets the option to place first one of them, he might have a big advantage. Apart from the mountain railroads, which I already said I think are really, really good, I also like the tunnels. They can give your route a big boost. And also they are kind of flexible, so they might also change the map. Although I think some of the tunnels seem to be pretty fixed, you know. I think it is pretty obvious that you're going to have a tunnel here, because that simply gives this whole area a big boost, and the char will probably need that. It's a pretty clear thing that the char wants this run here. The only question is, will they get that mountain railroad or not? Because if not, the char is in a much worse position. That tunnel here is probably also pretty fixed, you know. You need that tunnel to get money into the GB, so I think it's pretty safe to say that there will end up a tunnel here. But you not know quite for sure. On the other hand, the F&M also wants a tunnel here. They want to go here. So yeah, it's very likely that you're going to see a tunnel here, but it might be a curved tunnel to go here, so that the NMN has the option to end up here. And this tunnel here also seems like it's a pretty fixed thing, because the BLS wants to go here, and from there it's not unlikely that we see another tunnel here. So I don't know how much the tunnels will actually change during the game. There is, by the way, another tunnel company out there. Yeah, as I said, I'm not totally sure how much variation there is possible with the tunnels. But I think they are definitely interesting, and yeah, they can help your company quite a bit. Yeah, so overall, I think an excellent game. It focuses possibly on route building, but as I said, that kind of changes a little bit during the game. And that's what I find interesting. Many people complain about long games, and this is a long game. I like long games if they stay interesting during the game. You know, if it's like, okay, you do some decisions in the game and most of the time it just drags on and there's not a lot going on, then obviously it's boring. But here, there are tons of decisions to make, and yeah, they are quite different. As I said, some are about route building, how to get the privates in, of course what companies to open, how to get the big trains in, and the focus of these decisions changes a lot during the game, and I think that's pretty cool. But I got to say, and I see this more and more when I play now these games. In a way, I enjoy these games more when I play solo than when I play with others. You can really dive into these problems, and some are really tricky, and it's damn hard to try to figure that out. And if you only have about 5 minutes to find a solution and you realize that people around you are already getting grumpy, and you know, and I can understand that. I would be impatient too if someone next to me is sitting there and thinking about stuff for 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, that's ridiculous. And that can destroy the gaming experience. I remember we once had someone in our round and he was just thinking, you know, boy, you know, like, should I lay this tile or not? And he was thinking for 10 minutes about this shit, and it was just so obvious that you want to place this tile. But, you know, and if I play alone, I can just do it in the pace I want. And I find that very, very enjoyable, and I have a feeling that I can enjoy the depth of the games much more, and that I can appreciate all the options of the games much more when I play solo than when I play opposed. But okay, so yeah, hope to see you on the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.